Running is hard, and training for a marathon, well, it's even harder. However, helpful products and tips can make your training journey much more pleasant. Joining us now with the top tested products to get you to the finish line is Senior Director of Content Operations from Best Reviews, Jacob Palmer. Jacob, thanks for joining us.
Thanks so much for having me. You know, it's that time of year where there just seems to be a different marathon every weekend, and what we have here today, there's two things you need to think about if you're going to be a marathon beginner. You need to train for the marathon, you need to run the marathon. Everything we brought today helps you with both those.
Whew, okay, and I give kudos to everybody out there who is a marathon runner, because you probably won't catch me out there with you. But you can't run a marathon without some good, comfy socks.
And this is basically the first thing about getting into being a marathon runner is you need to think about every little element down to the socks. And so what we have here with us today are from Bombas, and they are our favorite socks because number one, they're sweat wicking, so your feet won't get gross and swampy while you're doing all those miles. And then number two, they're set up so they actually absorb some of the impact from running all of those miles. So they keep your feet comfortable, which when you're training for a marathon isn't an easy thing to do, because you got to do mile after mile after mile after mile to be able to get ready for that big race.
Oh, and I'd imagine sometimes if you don't have the right socks, you might get blisters, and nobody wants that. But you won't get those if you have the right pair of running shoes.
And that's what we have here. This is another one that, you know, is perfect for both training and running the actual marathon. I met somebody from the East Bay. His name's Jay. He's 70 years old. He's run 50 marathons.
What?
He said, I'm going to run another 50. And he did a lot of the original 50 in these Hoka Cliftons. And basically, Hoka is a brand that is just going crazy lately. You see them all over the place. The true runners, the real, you know, big-time marathon people that do them all the time, they've got their criticisms, but these Cliftons are the ones that you want to make sure that you have, because they have the support you need in the sole, and then they're also comfortable and lightweight enough that when you're doing all those miles, they won't wear you down. So we love these. So if you're looking for, you know, again, also, if you want to bail on being a marathon runner and just have a cool pair of shoes, these Hokas are a great one to do. But these will also get the job done for both training and completing the marathon.
So it sounds like you're going to win-win either way with the Hokas. And it's true. They really are blowing up. I see them all over San Francisco. But again, back to the basics, everybody. You can't run without at least something to protect your eyes from the sun during that long marathon.
And yeah, there's a few different things that go into it, too. You can't just throw on your normal Ray-Bans or whatever else you were wearing and expect those to be good enough for the performance you need to run a marathon. So these are specifically designed for runners, for people who are, you know, exercising them. They would also work if you're a cyclist. They're from Gooder, and in the Best Reviews testing lab, we absolutely love them because of the protection they give you from the sun, as well as how they're comfortable on the face because of the rubber materials they have. So they're really low impact, which again, are you really thinking about that, you know, with the sunglasses on your face? But when you're doing it for that long, for hours, it does make a difference. And so these are great for that. And the biggest thing that we liked about it is that the sweat doesn't really pool up inside the lenses, which can happen if you're wearing just any old pair of sunglasses.
That's true. And again, I'm not a marathon runner, but I've had that happen to me before, so I could see how that would be kind of distracting with the race. But you won't be distracted if you're staying on track with a nice Fitbit.
Yeah, well, I don't think that the Fitbit or the fitness tracker was a big consideration in ancient Greece when they started doing these marathons, but nowadays it seems like a very necessary component. And we brought a couple of our favorites here. One of them is from Fitbit, which is, you know, the originator in this class of tracking your fitness data. How many steps did you take? How often were you exercising? They're great because they're also super low weight, so it's awesome to have that. If you want to step your game up, though, and go into something that maybe gets encapsulated into your overall technology suite, we love the Apple Watch Ultra that they have. This is their newest one, and it is by far their best one in terms of how they track your biometrics. You know, the sensors that they have on it are the most sensitive ones they've ever put out. And so it's just a really nice tool to have. And again, you know, if you're already invested in Apple, it's a great thing to keep on you, because that way you'll make sure that it's working with all of your other devices, it's going into your phone easily, and then, you know, track your data, because I guess that's now a huge part of this.
I guess so. It's really a huge part of that. And you mentioned Apple products. We're going to stick to that because you have a nice pair of AirPods, which are also helpful. You can't run a marathon, everybody, without music.
I think that's another modern standby that you need some kind of entertainment while you're doing all those miles. And so what we love about the AirPods is that they're designed to work out. Apple had that in mind when they put these together. They need to be comfortable. They need to be something that's good in your ears for long times. And these do fit that bill. The other thing we love about it is that if you're pairing it with the Apple Watch, and you get the cellular. This is an important one. You need to get the cellular connection and not the only Wi-Fi, because if you do that, then you can take those out on the road with you, and you can connect the AirPods directly to your Apple Watch, so you don't have to lug your phone around with you while you're putting in those miles.
Absolutely amazing. So anytime you can cut down having to carry things or anything in your hand, that's the way you want to go. But you also have to stay hydrated. 26 miles is a lot of miles to run. You can't do it without some water.
Yeah, and I mean, when you talk about lugging something around, imagine the arm workout of carrying this thing around with you the whole way. So that's why we like this from Water Buffalo. It's a pretty familiar technology. You know, Camelback made it huge as a brand, but now that it's been on the market for long enough, we're finding some of those hidden gems that perform in a lot of the same way, but are a little bit less expensive. And this one from Water Buffalo, you can find it on Amazon, is a great option because, number one, it'll make sure you stay hydrated. It's lightweight enough, and you know, this is a very necessary component. You talk about protecting yourself from the sun. No better way to protect yourself from the sun than staying hydrated.
Yeah, you can't, again, like you said, please, everybody, this is a warning from us, everybody. Please don't go running 26 miles without drinking any form of water. Okay, so these are all amazing things when it comes to marathon runners out there. But if you were to suggest anything, especially for a beginner, where should they start in this whole list of products?
I mean, it's really the whole thing. Number one, though, you got to think about your feet and you got to think about your body. And so that's why we led with the socks and the shoes, because the toll that your feet take by training and then completing a marathon was what our tester came back with. And she said, I had no idea, but this actually worked out. And she trained in some Hokas as well. And she said it was mixing it up between road running and trail running. And these were the right shoes for it because of how solid that sole is, that even if you're out on the trails in the Bay Area, we've got some amazing trails, you know, especially on the East Bay Hills over there up in Marin County. And so these were where she was using those, and she absolutely swore by these, of like being able to go from the beginning all the way to the end of the process with one pair of shoes was an amazing thing for her, because a lot of times you're probably gonna want to switch them out.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we don't want anybody to be discouraged, especially beginners. So that's a wonderful piece of advice. Now, one more before I let you go. Are you gonna run a marathon?
Yeah, absolutely. Why not?
Well, if that's the case, then I'm gonna do it too, because I got to beat you.
I'm gonna do it with the baby, and do, like, if they ever figure out like a stroller marathon where I can be pushing one in the jogger, that would be the real thing, because she would be entertained. And I mean, think of the amount of hours you'd kill by doing that. She'd just be sitting there snacking.
I would pay, everybody. I would pay to see that.